Hello, hello, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to the VegInspired Live with me, your host, Kathy Davis. Drop some emojis in the chat. Let me know that you are here. If you do click the StreamYard link, I will actually be able to see who's commenting. So if you are here, give me a hey, tell me where you're tuning in from. I am coming to you live from central Pennsylvania as we make our way east toward Acadia National Park. As a quick background, I'm a real person. I travel full-time in a fifth wheel RV with my husband, John, and our cat, Eddie. Those of you watching, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear me, that my audio is coming through. Georgiana, yes? Yes. So when you can see the person's name. Otherwise, if you don't click the link, I see Facebook users. So hello and welcome to all of you. Don't be surprised if our little cat Eddie joins us today, because oftentimes when I'm talking and getting all excited over here, he wants to come up and talk too. So I am your host. My name is Kathy Davis. I'm a former school teacher turned plant-based lifestyle and mindset coach. I am the founder of VegInspired and the Eat More Plants Academy, and I'm a 3-time cookbook author. I help busy individuals transform their plant-based diet from stuck and struggling to an intuitive and easy way of life. I basically help you make plant-based eating your new normal so that you can achieve your personal goals, weight, wellness, whatever it is, or your professional goals, being able to achieve those big goals that you have set for yourself and have the energy and the vitality to be able to do it. Now, I've been creating and eating vegan meals for over 8 years, but over the past 2.5 years, I shifted my daily habits to follow a whole food plant-based lifestyle, specifically for weight loss. But my benefits, my results were far beyond weight loss. Renewed energy, a newfound sense of joy, healthier mind and body. If any of that sounds like something you want, give me a hands up, give me a thumbs up. Let's drop some love, some fire, some energy into the chat. We have Celeste from Los Angeles and V Wagner from Minneapolis. And I'm dedicated to helping people with the resources to find a similar transformation that I did, right? I've lost almost 50 pounds, but the other benefits far outweigh that. And they're honestly just as meaningful to me. Now, it's no secret that the cost of groceries is going up, right? Today is a really, really important topic to talk about, because I hear people say all the time that going plant-based is too expensive. And we're going to talk about money today. And I know money talk is totally taboo, but plant-based eating can be very expensive if you are making mistakes, especially if you're eating all the processed, gourmet, fancy plant-based foods that are on the market. But when you bring it back to the basics of whole plant foods that are mostly unprocessed, you can make this way of eating fit in any budget. Now, it is July 19th, 2022. The content that I share today may change, right? Times are changing. And over the years, I have actually seen the plant-based niche change pretty significantly. Marketers now are hijacking the term plant-based, or even putting a spin on it, made with plants, that they're slapping on processed foods with high sticker prices, luring in people that want to eat more plants, but with the familiarity of these favorite foods that are made from plants. And I found that if you truly want to eat plant-based for health, weight loss, wellness, skipping the processed foods is key to achieving those goals and key to doing it on a limited budget. Now, lucky for me, I have been able to, shop at some of the most amazing grocery stores, and I've been able to really, really try out all of the things that I'm talking about. But in addition to that, as I said, I travel the United States full-time in an RV. I don't always have access to fancy grocery stores. I don't always have access to processed vegan foods. And you know what the best part about that is I can buy things on a budget that serve my wellness and weight management goals. So I'm going to run through some tips for you today, specifically on budget-friendly shopping, how to make plant-based eating work for you, even on a limited budget. And the big thing is it doesn't matter what grocery store you're shopping at. Yes, I know because I price compare that I can get my favorite tahini for $2 or $3 cheaper at Walmart than I can get it at Whole Foods. I know that. But sometimes the price differences aren't that significant, especially when you're talking about minimally processed whole plant foods. So we're going to go back and we're going to start at the beginning of how budget-friendly shopping really looks for plant-based eating specifically. Celeste said, I had a similar experience with energy and weight loss. Also a teacher, administrator, and tried to help families eat more plants on limited budgets. Awesome, Celeste, you're going to love this. Hello, hello to our Facebook user. Iona from Germany, you love the cat's tail. That's Eddie. He is, oh, like I said, don't be surprised if he pops in because he thinks I'm talking to him because I'm so excited. So the first step on your budget-friendly plant-based shopping, grocery management, doing it all on a budget is to, number one, nail down your spending amount. When you look at what you can spend each week on groceries, that's what you can spend. You can't squeeze money from a stone, right? So if you don't have more money, you need to figure out how to get it to fit into the money you do have. So a couple of ways to do that. Take a few weeks of grocery receipts and start looking at your average. Is that average in alignment to what you can afford to spend on foods? Number two, how many people do you need to feed? Right? Are you feeding? Are you doing, is it $80 for two people? Is it $150 for four people? Is it, do you have a pretty big budget? Are you looking more at like $300 to feed a family of four? What does that look like? There's no shame in figuring out how much you can afford, because as you start to know what you can afford, you can start to see patterns within your shopping. Do your audit. How many meals are you cooking at home? Are you planning to dine out? I'm not going to get into how to eat whole food plant-based dining out or how to eat mostly plant-based dining out. That can be a completely separate training. If that's an interest, put dining out in the chat and we can add that to the upcoming roster of the weekly trainings. Is that dining out cost being added to your grocery budget? Is it a food budget, or is it specifically only costs at the grocery store? So you have to know those things as you're going in. As you review your receipts, ask yourself, are there foods on this that I don't need to buy? Need to buy, right? Like, do I need to buy 5 boxes of crackers, or could I just buy 1 box each week? Are there foods on this list that I'm buying as habits? Every time I go to the grocery store, I grab a bunch of bananas. Are there foods that are going to waste? Each week, I waste bananas, right? These are examples to be thinking about. Every week, I buy a huge container of spinach, but I throw away half of it. Are there things that you're buying out of habit and then wasting it at the end of the week? Can you buy smaller amounts more frequently so that you're saving, right? The big, huge container of spinach, $6.99. The smaller one, $3.99, but you're not wasting, right? So start to think about how you can keep your costs down by looking at what you're actually using each week. Now, once you've done that, you have your budget number, you have the idea of how many meals you're going to, who you're feeding, and if your dining out is coming into your food budget, or if it's just the grocery store budget. Next step is to plan your meals. Now, I want you to take this slow. I have training specifically on meal planning. So if that's an interest, you can comment meal planning in the chat and we can tag you in one of those trainings. But I want you to slow down your meal plan. The first couple of times you do it, it might feel overwhelming. It might feel stressful. You might be like, Kathy, you've lost your mind. I don't have time for this. I'll just pay more money at the grocery store. But once you get a handle on it and you can go to the grocery store and stay in your budget, you are now empowered. You are now making decisions from that place that you want to be. So I want you to take it slow. So as we move into this meal planning stage, what meals are you preparing each week? Are you doing 7 breakfasts, 7 lunches, 7 dinners? Are you doing 5 grab and go breakfasts, 2 elaborate breakfasts, right? 5 grab and go breakfasts Monday through Friday, And then on the weekends, you whip up those pancakes or waffles or tofu scrambles. Are you doing 5 packed lunches and then 2, grab and go kind of easy lunches at home on the weekends? The kids kind of snack all day, whatever it is. Maybe you have 6 make at home dinners and 1 night out, right? So you need to know what you're planning for. What are those meals you're making? Do you have specific requirements? Does your partner need special foods to go to work? Do you need special foods to go to work? Do your kids need foods? Like, know what types of meals you're making. And then you have to ask yourself, are you making meals in the moment? Arrive home, make dinner, pack it up, it's done. Or are you making things ahead of time? Tonight's dinner becomes tomorrow's leftovers for the adults in the home and the kids get something different. Or is it a combination of the two? Right? So you really need to know, what does this look like for you in your house? Now, this is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. They're like, well, this doesn't look like your plan. Y'all, your plan is never going to look like my plan. I'm traveling the United States in an RV with my husband. I can walk to the refrigerator. It's right there. I can practically touch it from where I'm sitting. Obviously, I don't have special grab and go meals for lunch because I can go right to the kitchen and make it. My schedule is very flexible. But if you need these foods packed up for the day, you need to know about that. Now, where you might have more time, your work might end at 4:30 every day, and you get home at 5 o'clock and you don't have any evening activities. That's not the case for me. I coach at night. I have trainings at night. I work with clients at night. So for me, my nights look a little different than yours. So it's never going to be one size fits all meal plan. But if you go about meal planning with the systematic approach of figuring out what those meals are, what your schedule looks like, and then looking at how you're going to make it work, it makes it much easier. So I see a lot of people commenting meal planning. So we will get you tagged in those meal planning videos so that you can get caught up on meal planning. I also see somebody tagging dining out. So we'll make sure that we add how to eat plant-based while dining out in an upcoming training. So be watching for that in the Plant-Based Lifestyle Support for Women Facebook group. So the next step in the process, and we haven't even gotten to the grocery store yet. We are still trying to figure out what we need so that we can stay in budget. The next step is to look at the foods you have on hand from last week. This is one big mistake that I see people making all the time. Instead of taking an inventory of what they have, they just go and they plan new meals and buy all this stuff and then waste food. So the first thing I do is I look in my, especially my produce crisper drawers. Is there a cabbage that's hiding in the back of the fridge that I need to use? Is there a half a bag of carrots left that I can use for something? Like, I don't need to go and buy a whole nother bag of carrots if I already have some there. So really start to take that inventory of what you have. This allows you to stay within budget because you don't need to buy more food, right? You're here because you want budget-friendly tips. You don't need to buy more food if you've already have food in your fridge. That's not going to mean that you won't need to supplement with some items, but you won't need to buy, like I said, a whole nother cabbage, a whole bag of carrots if you already have those. So once you've taken an inventory of what you have, then you move to the step of looking at recipes. Maybe you look through cookbooks. Now, my tip, and I teach this in my meal planning, is if you're looking for dinners, don't start at breakfast and try and work page by page through when you're meal planning. There is a time to sit and flip through the cookbook and get inspiration. But when you're meal planning, be intentional about it. Sit down, say, okay, I want dinners. This recipe is only 86 cents per serving, serves 4 potatoes and vegetables. I have a bag of frozen vegetables. I actually have some russet potatoes. I can make this meal without having to buy much, right? And if you have a copy of the budget-friendly plant-based cookbook, I'm talking about the recipe on page 98. If you don't have a copy of this and you want it, you can comment cookbook and we'll get the link in the description. But this is my 3rd cookbook, the budget-friendly plant-based diet cookbook. And all of the recipes have a per serving price. So that says 0.86 cents per serving. Now, this was written last year, so the prices might be a little off, but at least it gives you an idea of where you can start. So then you're going to start looking at meal ideas. And one of the big things that I always tell people is if there's specific recipes that you want, like your family loves curry, go to the back of your cookbook and look for curries. Don't flip through the whole chapter, spending 30 minutes on one recipe. Just go to look at curries. And if you haven't done my meal planning rotations or planning with routines variation, that is a game changer in meal planning, and we can actually get you tagged in that as well. So keeping in mind as you're planning your meals, base your meals around lower cost ingredients. Things like whole grains, specifically oats, brown and white rice, very, very cost effective per serving. Potatoes, right? These things are filling, satiating, and if your meal is based around that, you can supplement with leafy greens, vegetables, and then limiting fruits because they often are more costly. So looking at ways that you can do maybe brown rice and beans with steamed kale, or maybe potatoes and broccoli with black beans on it. Maybe it's an oat recipe. And then I also want you, when you're planning, to optimize and plan for your leftovers. Can you batch specific ingredients to create leftovers that you can repurpose into a different meal? My favorite one of these is boiling a 3-pound bag of potatoes, eating some potatoes for lunch, and then smashing the rest of the potatoes and eating them for dinner as like smashed potato fry kind of things. Or cooking an entire big container of mushrooms and using them for stir fry the first night, and then maybe tossed with onions and peppers the next night for fajitas. So really thinking about ways that you can repurpose your ingredients so that you're not having to, buy 6 containers of mushrooms. You can do one and split it into 2 meals. So the next step in the process of budget-friendly planning for your plant-based eating is to take your meal plan and turn it into a grocery list. I could do an entire training on this, but one of the big things I want you to think about is check your kitchen for items you may already have. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to get home and in a small space like mine, find out that I now have 3 ketchups and 4 things of peanut butter, which I will eat, but I didn't need to buy those things that day. So if you're new to plant-based eating, you might also be spending a little bit more as you stock up. So I always want you to keep that in mind as you're planning. If you need to buy things like miso and nutritional yeast and maybe liquid aminos or soy sauce or tamari, and you don't normally keep those items in your kitchen, maybe only pick recipes that use miso this week, because that's a new item that you'll have to buy, and miso can be expensive. I think we just bought one at Whole Foods for almost $10. Now, that tub of miso will probably last us 3 or 4 months, so it's not like an over expense each week, but it's an added expense that 1 week. So I want you to be considerate. You may not want to buy miso, nutritional yeast, ground flax, like all of these additional ingredients that you may not have in the same week. It might take you a month or 6 weeks to really start to stock your kitchen if you're on a budget, and be okay with that. Give yourself grace. Look at ways that you can maybe try a different recipe. Maybe you tag all the recipes with miso in your cookbook with a red sticky note, and then all the recipes with nutritional yeast with an orange sticky note, and then all the recipes with another ingredient that you might not have yet with a yellow one. And then as you buy those, you can go back to those sections and you can make those recipes with those new ingredients. So stick with recipes that have similar ingredients so that you're not overbuying each week and then saying plant-based eating is too expensive, because plant-based eating isn't expensive when you do it right. Now, if you're loving this, I'm loving all the chats. Debbie said cookbooks. She wants to learn how she can get a copy of one of our cookbooks. Don't let being on a budget hold you back from living a plant-based lifestyle. If you are ready to make this work and you want help and support, join us next week for our 3-day Eat More Plants workshop for detailed information on making plant-based eating work for you. And I'm super excited about this because we will be covering pantry and grocery lists, more on meal planning, and then how to really leverage your goals to make these decisions on plant-based eating and create those healthy daily habits that stick. So if you want in, just comment workshop, or you can visit the link VegInspired.com/3-day workshop. We will put it in the comments of this when we get going. But now let's continue with what's next. So we've done lots of things. We've audited our current grocery list. We looked at the foods we had in our pantry. We've looked at the types of meals that we're cooking so that we could be more equipped to plan. We've made a plan. Now we've made a grocery list. Now it's time to shop smart. And the sad thing about this shopping smart is that this is where I see people really lose it. It drives me crazy when people are like, I shop 4 times a week. I'm like, you do what? That's 4 times a week that you could totally go off the wagon and off the rails on your budget. So my number one tip is to shop 1 time per week with your list and your plan and a rule that you stick to your list. Now, I haven't been able to do that all my life. Sometimes I'm in the grocery store and I'm like, ooh, look, endangered species dark chocolates on sale, 2 for $5. I think I need one of those. I'm going to tell you, I probably don't need it. And some people even find that ordering the bulk of their groceries online for pickup is helpful to avoid that impulse spending. Some people like me, like I don't even let myself go into places like Target and Walmart because I can easily drop $200 in the clearance section at those places. So I do order the bulk of my groceries for pickup. And then I often will go in and just pick out the produce that I really want to make sure that I get to touch and feel and smell and all of that before picking up my order. So really consider that. If impulse spending is an issue for you, can you order your groceries and then just go in and pick up the things that you want specifically? So remember, shop smart. A list, a plan, a list, whatever order you have it in, probably a plan, then a list, and the rule to stick with your list. Number 2 in the shopping smart is to review the grocery ads and websites for specials. Now, this can be done as you review your recipes. In fact, it might even be smart to be considering what's on sale at the grocery store when you're planning your meals. Because if tofu is on sale this week, 2 for whatever, you might consider a tofu recipe. Or if your store is having a bulk sale, this might be the time to grab a few pounds of beans that you can, use to cook from scratch. But a word of caution with this: don't let the ads lure you into buying things you don't need. Back to my endangered species chocolate. Don't let the sale lure you into buying things you don't need. And the reason I say that is oftentimes we get into this, oh, peanut butter's on sale, 2 for $6. I should buy it. And then I get home and I now have 6 jars of peanut butter in the pantry. I don't have space for 6 jars of peanut butter. I don't eat that much peanut butter. So when you are buying in bulk or when you are taking advantage of those sales, keep in mind and be mindful of what you're actually going to use. I see this a lot happen a lot with produce. People will say something like, oh, bananas were only 25 cents or 15 cents a pound or whatever. So I bought 4 bunches and I don't have any room in my freezer to freeze them. What can I use them for? And I'm always like, don't buy in bulk unless you'll actually use it. If you don't have the ability to store canned vegetables or to use the bulk items, just buy what you need and buy it more frequently. And I say that with the caveat that if you know that you use one of the big liters of maple syrup every month and you can plan for that $30 purchase once a month, then by all means, do that. If it fits in the refrigerator, buy your bulk maple syrup, buy it in a bigger jar. You use it every day, no big deal. But if you don't use maple syrup every day, there's no sense in buying the $18 mid-size container that's going to sit in your refrigerator for 6 months when you could have spent $7 on the small one and bought it again. Like, think about the weekly budget. Think about it as a weekly budget. I can spend this amount each week. If I overbuy or buy in bulk, I'm going to overspend. The other big piece of shopping smart is to skip convenience. Now, this is worth mentioning both at the shopping stage and also probably should have been mentioned back at the planning stage. Are there ways that you can plan to prepare foods from scratch? Now, when I'm talking about convenience, I'm talking specifically about beans in cans, baby peeled carrots, cut vegetables, spiralized ingredients. It's very easy to get sucked into all these already prepared foods when time is limited. Can you plan in time to cook your own beans, time to peel and prepare your carrots, time to prepare your kale so you don't have to spend a little bit more on the bagged kale that's already washed and prepped? Now, when I want you to think about this, because every time a manufacturer's employee or a manufacturer has to touch an ingredient, touch to prepare for you, the price increases. So all those little pennies add up. It might be no big deal to spend $3.99 on prepped kale, but if you bought the bunch and prepped it yourself, you might have only spent $2.99. Now, with that comes time. Time is money, right? So if you are crunched for time, you might plan to spend a little bit more of your pennies to have foods that are prepared for you. But those are things you can control and you can decide. Eddie's back for review. The next tip in shopping smart is to sign up for loyalty programs, rebates, and rewards programs. I can't stress this enough. As someone who travels the country full time and goes to lots of different grocery stores, it is a pain to stop what I'm doing, fill out the information, get the little key tag, add it to our ring of key tags, and then remember to take that into the store. But at one grocery store, we saved $30 on our groceries, went out to the diesel pump and saved an additional $20. So for that 2 minutes of me putting in my information, getting the email, getting the little card, we saved $50 in our grocery and diesel fuel costs. It is worth it to sign up for those programs, but you have to be intentional about what you're buying. Right? As a Whole Foods shopper, I'm also an Amazon Prime member, so I always look for the tag, because Amazon Prime members save additional money at Whole Foods. So when you start to think about these loyalty programs, rebate programs, reward programs, you can really start to earn money back. The other tip when shopping smart is, as you shop, mentally calculate your items. Add them up yourself. Look at ways, be flexible. Prices can change weekly. So if last week your cauliflower was $3.99 a head and this week it's $5.99 a head, and that super exceeds your budget, but broccoli's on sale, can you use broccoli for your recipe? Right? So really think about being flexible and adding up as you go. Then my next tip with shopping smart is to don't shop when you're hungry. We've all been there. Just don't. I don't even need to go into it. I'm sure I could get, there's 21 of you watching live right now. I bet I could get 21 hands up for people who have shopped hungry and bought something off the list because they were hungry. I've even gone as far as to put something in the cart and then open it and eat it. Anyway, it's crazy. The next tip is to plan your splurges. And I don't mean like splurge, like diet culture splurge. I mean like you really want to invest in a really good balsamic vinegar. So plan that in. Don't be shocked at the fact that that might cost, $12.99. Plan in those splurges. Be intentional about sticking to your list, and don't be lured into a splurge that isn't on your list. Stay intentional, stay focused, and begin creating these budget-friendly habits that you can use each week. So if you're I love this. Kim says she always shops for fruits and vegetables that are on promotion or sale. I love it. Christine, she wants to be in on that meal planning. Yes. Georgiana says always running to the store to pick up a few things. And that ends up being more. We often spend more. Like we always say, okay, we're going to do starch and salad, and then we're going to supplement with veggies. And then we hit the local veggie mart, the local veggie farm stand, and we're like, oh, these look good. These look good. These look good. So you really need to rein it in. So if you're ready to push past the obstacles and make plant-based eating work for you, you can join us for our free 3-day Eat More Plants workshop next week. You can register at the link VegInspired.com, 3-day workshop for detailed information. We're going to be covering all sorts of things just like today, but much more in depth. Pantry and grocery lists, meal planning, and really how to create those healthy habits to make your plant-based eating stick. So if you're ready to make it stick once and for all, you can comment workshop and we'll get you the link. It is a free workshop. There are replays available for those of you who are registered. So make sure you get your seat, get in there, and don't miss out. So what types of meals do I eat that are budget friendly? So I really had to kind of think about what I eat because I eat pretty budget friendly all the time, right? But for breakfast, I eat oats. I make them in tons of ways. I do overnight oats where they sit and make this like yummy porridge, and I add fresh berries or frozen berries to it. Or actually any fruit would work. Cut up apples. You can do that for less than $1 a serving. I also make pancakes with those ripe bananas. Bananas are on sale. They go a little ripe. We make a pancake with the ripe bananas and oat flours. Those recipes are both in this cookbook. So if you're really interested in that, I do have the pancakes recipe. I think it's been posted on Instagram and Facebook, so you can comment pancakes and we can get you that recipe as well. I also make smoothies with the fruits. Sometimes the fruits start to go bad, so we we grab the smoothies with those fruits and we just whip them up real quick. Now, what about lunches and snacks? So I rely heavily on beans and bean salads and bean dips and bean dishes for my lunches and snacks. Anything from, a Texas style caviar using black-eyed peas to chickpea salads, even using things like cabbage alongside sweet potatoes and black beans. So really leveraging the power of these lower cost ingredients. And by doing that, I can save more money and really eat foods that are satiating. I also do date energy bites, cookies made with oat flour. So to make oat flour, it's super simple. You just throw your oats in a high-speed blender or food processor and let it buzz up until it's more of a flour texture. Easy, cheap, and works really well in the place of flours. It is a little bit drier than most flours, so it absorbs more liquid. So in order to use it one for one for flour, you're going to need to add more liquids. But we do all of our cookies with oat flour. For lunches and dinners that are on a budget, I typically use those lower cost ingredients like brown rice and quinoa, and I'll add greens and veggies, and then I whip up some flavorful sauces, things like tahini, maple mustard, or even rice vinaigrette dressing. Something very simple, very easy, flavorful. I often do noodle and veggie soups, leveraging the power of frozen vegetables for those. Hey, little Eddie wants to be right here with us. And then things like tacos. I love to make tacos. I make my own tortillas using corn flour or masa harina, and that makes a very inexpensive tortilla. You can also find extremely inexpensive corn tortillas in the ethnic section. Just double check the ingredients. Some companies still make them with lard. That would make them not plant-based. Pastas and noodle bowls can be very inexpensive. With veggies, you can use frozen veggies or those fresh produce that's on sale or local from your farm. And if you're fortunate to be able to grow your own vegetables, even in containers, that can really offset some of the costs weekly for your groceries. Growing a garden can be an investment up front, so just be prepared for that as you plan. Lastly, you can also look at ways to make favorites. Things such as salsa, pico de gallo, seasoning mixes, plant milk, and other condiments can be great convenient items to make at home so that you don't have to spend the extra money on a cleaner sauce. Because one of the things we found with plant-based eating is that a lot of the condiments have junk in them. So we tend to buy more of the organic or specialty condiments. And so if you can make yours at home, you can make things that are more cost effective. But don't let being on a budget hold you back from living a plant-based lifestyle. If you're ready to make this work, I definitely recommend joining our 3-day Eat More Plants workshop next week. We're going to dig into some of these big topics, meal planning, grocery lists, and really developing the habits and adopting those habits to make plant-based eating work for you and make those habits stick. For me, it was all about losing weight and keeping it off. For other people that I work with, it's about managing illness. And for others, it's simply about having more energy so that they can meet their personal and professional goals. So if you want in, go for workshop, drop workshop in the comments, and we'll make sure that you get the link to get registered. Somebody said, is there a link that I can share to others that aren't in the Facebook group so that they can sign up for your workshop? Yes, the link is, let's see. That's not it. It is, it's going on the ticker below. www.veginspired.com 3-day workshop. As I said, we will put that link in the description below of all of these videos, the ones on Facebook, the ones on YouTube, and the ones in the plant-based support, lifestyle support for women. If you are not in the plant-based lifestyle support for women group and you want to be, you can go to veginspired.com/foodies, or you can just comment group in the chat and I will get you the link to that. Thanks for tuning in this week. Remember, next week, Tuesday's live will be day 2 of our 3-day free workshop. Make sure that you're registered so that you get all of the freebies that go along with the workshop, some done for you meal planning, some templates, and some additional freebies. No more excuses for falling off the plant-based wagon. You have the support right here in the VegInspired community, and we're thrilled to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye.